The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected.
I will meet with anyone, I will speak to everyone, so long as it can stand to benefit an economic agenda for New Yorkers.
The socialist wave in the West Wing, President Trump's face-to-face meeting with New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, where some say they may actually find common ground.
But I do think the ongoing investigations will be something that will put a hold on these document release. I think that's unfortunate. I think the public's ready to see all this information. Questions
swirl around the DOJ and the release of the Epstein files. A former U.S. attorney explains why things didn't play out earlier. Plus,
was it deliberate or was it incompetence? It's one of the two.
New claims the FBI stonewalled the investigation into President Trump's attempted assassination. Our exclusive one-on-one interview with a member of the assassination task force and his call for additional investigations. From the nation's capital, this is the National News Desk, America's News. Now, we are glad you're here with us. I'm Dee Dee Gatton, and on this Weekend Edition, we take a look at the big headlines of the week, and we look ahead at what to expect, starting with the 4 big stories we've been following this week. President Trump signs a bill ordering the DOJ to release all documents related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Saudi Arabia announces a major investment into the U.S. The Trump administration signals new immigration enforcement operations in New Orleans and new details on would-be Trump assassin Thomas Crooks. But first, Ukrainian leaders and European allies taking a strong stance against a plan crafted by the Trump administration to end Russia's invasion. It's a plan President Trump says Ukraine must agree to by Thanksgiving, or the U.S. could pull back its support for Ukraine. National correspondent Acha El-Nashar has the latest from Washington.
For the past month, a plan has quietly been forming. One the Trump administration hopes will end Russia's war in Ukraine.
The president supports this plan. It's a good plan for both Russia and Ukraine.
Ukraine views this plan as anything but good.
Ukraine may now face a very difficult choice, either the loss of dignity or the risk of losing a key partner.
The 28-point plan includes an expectation that Russia won't invade neighboring countries. Ukraine will get security guarantees, but it's unclear what those would be. And Russia will be reintegrated into the global economy. It also includes major territorial concessions on Ukraine's part, including land Russia hasn't even invaded yet. Ukraine would not be allowed to join NATO. In fact, the alliance would agree to not expand at all. And Ukraine's military would have to be roughly 250,000 personnel smaller than it is now.
It's not serious. It's kind of fake.
Ukrainian Parliamentary Foreign Affairs Chief Oleksandr Mereshko calls it nothing short of surrender.
It's written as if there is no international law, no UN charter, let alone the Constitution of Ukraine.
European allies whose support is also vital, all but outright rejecting the proposal.
We have to understand that in this war there is one aggressor and one victim, so we haven't heard of any concessions on the Russian side.
Therein lies the fundamental disagreement between President Trump and Europe. At least publicly, Trump has never framed this war as having one aggressor and one victim in need of America's full backing.
He's grown increasingly frustrated with both sides of this war, Russia and Ukraine alike, for their refusal to commit to a peace agreement.
Trump now putting Ukraine on the clock to say yes, setting next week, Thursday, Thanksgiving, as the deadline. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Nashar for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
Taking you to the White House, where President Trump welcomed New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani Friday afternoon. It was the first ever meeting between the two, who have continuously insulted each other over the last few months. The president has called Mamdani communist, while the mayor-elect has described the current presidential administration as authoritarian. However, the two leaders have expressed finding common ground to help the city they call home, especially when it comes to affordability. The White House meeting highlights the importance of New York City to the country and the impact its political leadership can have on the nation. New York is home to 2.5% of the U.S. population. Its economy is among the largest in the world. It is also the top vacation destination in the U.S., making the city's long-term success not only important to New York, but Washington as well. To Capitol Hill now, where ahead of the president's meeting with Mamdani on Friday, the House approved a resolution condemning the, quote, horrors of socialism. The vote was 285 for and 98 against, with 86 Democrats joining with Republicans to approve this measure. Speaker Mike Johnson and House GOP leaders have condemned Mamdani's election, citing the mayor-elect's far-left politics. Democrats have dismissed Republican attacks, but did not formally recommend a no vote among the party. New information: for the first time since losing the 2024 presidential election, former Vice President Kamala Harris returned to the campaign trail in Nashville to encourage voting in special elections. Her appearance came after congressional Democrat Afton Baines' exit. The 35-year-old is vying to replace former Representative Mark Green. A Democrat hasn't been elected to represent Tennessee's 7th district in the U.S. House in decades. Harris did not directly mention Bain, who is currently in the hot seat for saying she hates Nashville in a resurfaced clip from 2020. The Trump administration announces new oil drilling off the coasts of California and Florida. It marks a reversal of the Biden administration's shift away from drilling. The federal government hasn't allowed drilling in the eastern Gulf of Mexico over worries about oil spills, and there's been no new leasing in federal waters off California since the 80s. Is expected to be met with bipartisan opposition in Florida. California likely to challenge the plan in court as Governor Gavin Newsom has spoken out against it. The Justice Department is investigating whether two top Trump administration officials allegedly interfered with a probe into Senator Adam Schiff. According to the Associated Press, people allegedly claim to be acting at the direction of the White House and pushed the probe of the California Democrat, one of the president's political enemies. Schiff was being investigated for mortgage fraud, but the case stalled in October due to reported lack of evidence. He denies wrongdoing. In a shocking reversal, the Justice Department now says the full grand jury did review the indictment against former FBI Director James Comey. At a hearing Wednesday, prosecutors said the full grand jury did not review the final indictment. Comey's lawyers argued that blows up the case entirely. There was no immediate decision from the judge. Comey argues he's being targeted by President Trump for personal reasons. He denies the charges, which accuse him of making a false statement to Congress and obstructing Congress. The FBI, quote, stonewalled the House investigation into Thomas Crook's attempted assassination of President Trump. That's what Republican Representative Pat Fallon told the National News Desk on Wednesday in an exclusive one-on-one interview. Fallon also responding to new reports suggesting Crooks left a trail of digital prints the FBI didn't previously share. The National News Desk, Jeff Harris, reports.
Fallon was very direct, saying what really smacks you in the face is that the FBI told the assassination task force, which he served on, Crooks didn't have that big of a digital footprint. But these reports paint a much different picture, and he wants answers.
I want the truth. There's no such thing as your truth or my truth. There is only the truth.
On Capitol Hill Wednesday, Texas Representative Pat Fallon responding to new reports, including from the New York Post, that Crooks had a much larger digital footprint than the FBI initially disclosed.
Our mission on the assassination task force was to leave no stone unturned. And with this new additional information, I think we need to turn over a few more stones.
Citing an anonymous source, the Post reporting this week, Crooks had at least 17 accounts across various platforms contradicting initial statements from the FBI. Do you feel like at any time the task force got stonewalled on information?
We definitely got stonewalled when we finally got answers that we thought were fully forthright, and now it seems like they weren't.
In 2024, FBI Deputy Director Paula Bates saying the agency discovered 700 social media comments they believe were made by Crooks between 2019 and 2020, describing them as anti-Semitic and anti-immigrant, but stopped short of sharing anything else.
We believe it important to share and note it today, particularly given the general absence of other information to date from social media and other sources of information.
But according to the Post, Crook's online presence also showed a radical shift in political ideology to overwhelmingly anti-Trump, including violent rhetoric, videos practicing shooting guns, and online interactions with someone connected to a Norwegian neo-Nazi group, information Fallon says he wants a debate to address.
Why, if you're going to make that kind of a statement, why just that? Why was it so selective? That's a direct question I want to ask him under oath.
A former FBI special agent, Jody Weiss, also weighing in, saying the Bureau has incredible capabilities to look very deep into someone's digital footprint, and crooks should have been flagged.
For them to come out and say that we just didn't see much there, we couldn't identify a motive, I can't understand why.
Now, if flagged, Weiss says the FBI would then dig deeper, ultimately leading to an interview to determine possible intent.
Does he have the opportunity to commit some of the stuff he's talking about, or is it just a young man spouting off to get some clicks on social media?
Now, Fallon says additional investigations are absolutely needed, telling us he plans to speak with House Oversight Chairman James Comer to potentially lead the new probes, saying the committee is the perfect platform in which to do that. I'm Jeff Harris reporting from Washington.
Coming up next, from Olympic athlete to the FBI's most wanted list, the staggering reward offered by the Justice Department for Ryan Wedding's capture as charges pile up. A 30-day countdown now underway for the Justice Department to share the Epstein files with the public. This week, I spoke with former U.S. Attorney John Fishwick for insight on how he got to this point and what could come next. John, as you know, the House Oversight Committee took the lead in the subpoena of Jeffrey Epstein's estate and in the subpoena to banks for his financial records. As we kind of take a look back at how we got here, why not the DOJ? Why do you think this is all unfolding now?
Well, the House Oversight Committee has certainly been aggressive in getting documents and making them available to the public, and that's a good thing. DOJ, unfortunately, though, said this past summer in July, they've looked at all the Epstein file. They did not see any criminal conduct that was worth investigating and moving forward. They basically said they were at a dead end. But the House Oversight Committee has aggressively kind of pursued this. I hope they will continue to pursue it and release it. But DOJ has been quiet, but basically said this summer there's no criminal case, no criminal lead that we're going to pursue.
Well, even though the president has signed a bill to release the Epstein files, it is still up to the DOJ which information is public or redacted, correct?
Correct, Dee Dee. So I think the public may be a little disappointed. There's not going to be a huge unveiling of all the Epstein file. DOJ has the power, typically, and also under this law to say, look, we've got an ongoing investigation. President Trump and Pam Bondi has asked us to investigate Democrats. And so that could be a hold on some of these documents. Also, anything that's very sensitive as relates to victims or obviously pornographic sort of information, that'll be not be produced to the public. But I do think the ongoing investigations will be something that will put a hold on these document release. I think that's unfortunate. I think the public's ready to see all this information.
And as you just mentioned, you'll remember last week Trump ordered that investigation into the Democrats you just mentioned, allegedly connected to Epstein. Do you believe, it doesn't sound like you do, but do you believe the 30-day deadline to release the files will be met? And if it is, will Americans ever get the complete files?
I think the unfortunate thing for Americans is, there have been a lot of starts and stops on releasing the Epstein files and the Epstein documents, and we obviously don't have them all. I don't think at the end of this 30-day period we're going to get them all. I expect we'll get some of them, Dee Dee, but I think a lot of it will not be produced. I think DOJ is going to say, look, we've been ordered to do an investigation, and typically what we do until that investigation is complete, we don't want to taint that investigation, so we don't release everything. So I think there'll be a partial release by DOJ, but not the complete files.
All right, we'll put a pin in that. Before I let you go, John, finally, a lot of questions, including from a judge overseeing the case of former FBI Director James Comey. The DOJ first said the indictment against Comey was never presented to the full grand jury. Now federal prosecutors are saying it was reviewed. So a lot of back and forth. What do you think is happening here, and how strong is Comey's argument that the case should be dropped?
Yeah, there's a little uncertainty about what happened in the grand jury room because they voted down one of the indictments, but when they voted down that one indictment, they did approve 2 of the charges. Remember, though, the ultimate catch-all safeguard for DOJ, even if the judge dismisses it, they have a 6-month safeguard that lets them refile the charges even if the judge dismisses it. So this case is going to continue to move forward. There is going to be back and forth about what happened in the grand jury, but ultimately this case is going to be move forward, but there's going to be a lot of legal action and appeals before that takes place.
All right, former U.S. Attorney John Fishwick, as always, thank you for your time and expertise tonight.
Thank you.
As we await the Justice Department's full release of the Epstein files, newly reviewed, documents are already affecting the lives of prominent Americans. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has the story from Washington.
As a constituent.
On Tuesday, U.S. Virgin Islands Delegate Stacey Plaskett narrowly avoiding a censure in the House for communicating with Jeffrey Epstein during a 2019 hearing.
They've taken a text exchange which shows no participation, no assistance, no involvement in any illegal activity, and weaponized it for political theater.
At the time of the communications, Epstein was under federal investigation for sex trafficking. Plaskett says she was unaware. He would be arrested on those charges less than 4 months later.
For taking a phone call from her constituent, Jeffrey Epstein, in the middle of a hearing, and of course, I don't think there's any rule here against taking phone calls in a hearing.
Critics are calling Raskin's defense of Plaskett incredibly dishonest, pointing out that by 2019, Epstein had already served jail time and was a registered sex offender. Just a year earlier, following a meeting between Epstein and Plaskett at his New York mansion, the Democratic Party rejected a $30,000 donation from Epstein earmarked for Plaskett because of his scandals. The White House going further, calling Raskin and Plaskett sick. Also caught tangled in Epstein's web, former Harvard president, Clinton Treasury Secretary, and Obama economic advisor Larry Summers.
Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single night, every single weekend.
Summers announcing he's stepping down from the board of OpenAI after texts and emails from 2018 and 2019 show the intimate friendship he had with Epstein, a relationship he now says was, quote, a major error of judgment. The married Summers seeking relationship advice from the convicted sex offender in his effort to seduce a woman he called a mentee. Epstein and Summers were in regular contact until the day before Epstein's 2019 arrest.
Reacting to the congressional bill forcing the Justice Department to release its Epstein files, Attorney General Pam Bondi says she'll follow the law with maximum transparency while also protecting Epstein's victims. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins reporting for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
The State Department is raising the reward from $10 to $15 million for information leading to the arrest or conviction of a former Olympian. In a brand new indictment, Ryan James Wedding is charged with 2 additional counts of witness tampering and intimidation, murder, money laundering, and drug trafficking.
Make no mistake, Ryan Wedding is extremely dangerous. He's extremely violent and he's extremely wealthy. He's being protected by the Sinaloa cartel, along with others in the country of Mexico.
FBI officials made clear that both departments in Canada and Mexico are cooperating with several arrests of Wedding's associates already made. Coming up, competing petitions over a Charlie Kirk memorial on the campus of Utah Valley University, where the political activist was assassinated. The pushback and support. And chilling comments from a Washington state father accused of kidnapping his own children. How investigators say he was planning copycat murders. The National News Desk team of reporters is bringing you the headlines from coast to coast. We're taking the pulse of America, and we start in Washington state, where threats from a father spark an investigation.
We know we needed to get these kids back safe. That was our priority.
The reason obvious. 2 siblings abducted. A father accused of kidnapping his own children and threatening to kill them. On top of that, a chilling connection revealed inside these court documents. The children's mother telling police that the suspect mentioned, quote, he was going to be like Travis Decker and kill the kids. Decker, whose remains were discovered in September after a massive manhunt, is the same man authorities believe kidnapped and killed his 3 young daughters in June.
We're all aware of the Decker case and its impacts on people across the state. I can tell you that we acted on the information we had in this case, and it was really our priority was just finding these kids, and thankfully we found them safe.
And their dad in custody. A judge wouldn't let us show him in court. He's not yet charged.
The fallout continues after a massive federal operation that shut down San Pedro Avenue early Sunday morning. An FBI and Homeland Security statement clarifies that they arrived with multiple other agencies. The operation was tied to disrupting Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan gang. This is part of the newly formed Homeland Security Task Force, FBI San Antonio and HSI San Antonio coming together to take down trans-international crime organizations. One local worker, Derek Garcia, was surprised to see all the commotion when he arrived at 7 in the morning.
Hey, what's going on over there? They tell me, yeah, there was a big raid.
According to the statement released, the operation resulted in the arrest of more than 140 undocumented migrants from Venezuela, Honduras, Mexico, and other South American countries. They have all been taken into ICE custody.
It's sad what happened, but unity is the best thing at this time. So yeah, I'm not against the Charlie Kirk Memorial as long as it's off campus.
A polarizing debate has emerged on campus, with students pushing competing petitions on change.org. One petition with more than 15,000 signatures calls on UVU to prevent a Charlie Kirk Memorial, calling him a controversial figure whose views do not represent values of inclusivity and diversity. A dueling petition in support of the memorial has nearly 22,000 signatures and says it would both honor Charlie Kirk and serve as a reminder of the value of communication over violence.
It's kind of the elephant in the room, you know? It's like, what all happened?
For some students, their opposition is about trauma. The university formed its own independent memorial committee, which includes students, political leaders, and other stakeholders. Turning Point USA, which is advocating for the memorial, tells 2 News that opposition represents a vocal minority.
Coming up, a potential severe flu season as vaccinations slip, the perfect storm health officials fear, and a potential strike threatening airports nationwide as pilots demand better wages right before Thanksgiving. Taking a look at the top trending stories on our website right now. Federal investigators released dramatic new photos of an engine flying off a UPS cargo plane. They crashed 2 weeks ago, killing 14 people. As you take a look at your screens right here, preliminary findings show evidence of cracks in the left wing's engine mount. Major League Baseball announces a new media rights deal with NBC, Netflix, and ESPN. The deal is reportedly worth $800 million a year for 3 years. And those stories and much more available right now at thenationaldesk.com. Honda is recalling its Accord hybrid models for a software error that may result in a sudden loss of drive power. The recall covers more than 250,000 Honda Accord hybrids between the 2023-2025 model years. The error may cause the car's internal software to reset while in the middle of driving, increasing the risk of a crash or injury. Honda estimates that less than 1% of the models will be impacted by this recall. Honda dealers will reprogram the software free of charge. Health experts warn this year's flu season could be just as severe as last year due to a decline in vaccinations and a new mutated strain. The strain is called subclade K and is behind early surges in the United Kingdom, Canada, and Japan. Last winter, the U.S. had its highest rates of flu hospitalizations in nearly 15 years. At least 280 children died of influenza, the highest number on record going back to 2004. Right now, over 1,400 Allegiant Air pilots are picketing for better wages. The picket line impacted 22 airports nationwide as union workers threaten to strike if the airline does not sit down to discuss better wages.
It's an ongoing struggle, and Allegiant has been playing a lot of games where they are demanding a concessionary contract, where they will take from one side and give to the other side and claim that our contract has been improved, but we're not falling for that. An increase of pay with even more increase of work is not an increase in benefits.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy saying earlier this week that despite recent airport chaos, flight operations should return to normal before Thanksgiving. You're watching the National News Desk, America's News Now. Catch us live weekdays from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time and anytime online at thenationaldesk.com. We'll be right back. The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected.
And the thing that I'd ask for the American people is a little bit of patience.
Affordability addressed as more Americans say they still feel squeezed financially, where some say the president's promise has missed the mark.
The Crown Prince and I are making an alliance stronger and more powerful than it's ever been before.
President Trump touts a growing bond between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, the country's massive investment pledge amid criticism from both sides of the aisle.
We're on our way to solving the Chinese chokehold that they have.
The White House racing to complete a rare earth minerals agreement as a new discovery could deal a blow to China's supply dominance. From the nation's capital, this is the National News Desk, America's News Now. I'm Dee Dee Gatton, and despite the delayed release of September's jobs report showing far more jobs added than expected, it's not necessarily making life easier for people struggling with high prices. National correspondent Acha El-Nashar reports from the White House.
It's believed to be the reason Donald Trump won the 2024 election.
A vote for Trump means your groceries will be cheaper.
More than a year after that promise and 10 months after taking office, most Americans are still waiting. 85% of voters, including a majority of Republicans, say their groceries got more expensive this year, according to a new Fox News poll. Only 38% approve of President Trump's overall handling of the economy, and just 35% approve of his use of tariffs, the crux of his economic agenda. In a rare moment Wednesday, Trump partially acknowledging the hit to his popularity.
So my poll numbers just went down, but with smart people, they've gone way up.
But still insists he's following through on his campaign promise.
We're also making incredible strides to make America affordable again. That's a new word that they're using, affordability, they talk.
The vice president sounding more measured Thursday.
And the thing that I'd ask for the American people is a little bit of patience. It's going to take a little bit of time for every American to feel that economic boom.
Before any economic boom, Americans will be paying for Thanksgiving dinner.
I notice a lot of things are higher priced, and people are definitely looking at things more before they're buying them.
The overall inflation rate has fluctuated a bit, but is back to where it was on Inauguration Day, 3%, according to the latest government data. Some items like eggs and fish have gotten cheaper, and according to the Farm Bureau, the average cost of a Thanksgiving meal for 10 will be almost $3 cheaper than last year, a 5% drop. The president painting a rosier picture.
Walmart just announced that the cost of their standard Thanksgiving meal, this is the greatest, is 25% lower than 1 year ago. Isn't that great?
But according to Walmart, this year's meal deal has 6 fewer items than last year and more private label products instead of brand names. To help people get by, the White House keeps saying it wants to send out those $2,000 tariff rebate checks, but that would have to be passed by Congress, and experts say would actually cost more than the tariffs are bringing in. At the White House, I'm Atra El-Nashar for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
Does the September jobs report help or hurt the case for another interest rate cut? That's a question investors are now likely asking. Given that we lost 4,000 jobs, according to the August report, it's a hard question to answer. Federal Reserve officials are split on where to go with rates. The fact that we're not going to have a report for October doesn't help matters. Either way, the Fed is back on President Trump's radar.
Tell everybody, in the case of the current guy, the wrong information because he has no clue. But if you have good instincts, it's all based on instincts. I see they want to hire 3,000 economists, 3,000, to report to the Fed chairman.
Trump has kept the pressure on Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. He keeps suggesting he's already found Powell's replacement and also claims Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is preventing him from firing Powell. New details: the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge may have been caused by a misplaced label installed on a wire when the cargo ship Dolly was built years earlier. That's according to the National Transportation Safety Board, which held a public meeting on the disaster earlier this week.
The fact is, none of us should be here today. This tragedy should have never occurred. Lives should have never been lost. As with all accidents that we investigate, this was preventable.
In March of 2024, the 213 million pound container vessel lost engine and electrical power while leaving the port of Baltimore and struck a pillar of the bridge. The bridge crashed into the water. 6 people were killed. President Trump says negotiations are coming along with lawmakers on potentially extending health care subsidies. He stated this week that the only health care he'll support or approve is that in which money goes directly back to the people.
This is all fantasy. It's all political theater from Donald Trump. He's got no interest in making health care more affordable for the American people.
Some GOP senators want to replace Affordable Care Act subsidies with prepaid health savings accounts. Such a move would not help with monthly premiums, but could help cover health care expenses. The TSA now wants to tack on an $18 fee if you don't bring a real ID or passport for your flight. Travelers without the required ID would have their identity verified on a biometric system to pass through the checkpoint, only allowing TSA checkpoint access for 10 days. The money would be used to help pay for the new technology. It's not clear when the new system and fee would start. The Israel-Hamas ceasefire is standing on shaky ground after Israel launched multiple strikes on Gaza, killing 33 people in a 12-hour period. We do want to warn you the images you are about to see are graphic. It is the latest episode of violence since the two sides agreed to a U.S.-backed ceasefire deal last month. Israeli officials say it's because some of its soldiers came under fire in the southern Gaza Strip Wednesday. Hamas denies firing towards any Israeli troops and calls the strikes a shocking massacre. A senior policy advisor to Iran's supreme leader and President Trump have both indicated they're willing to restart negotiations over Iran's nuclear program. The advisor says Iran would be willing to take part in talks if they are based on mutual respect and equal footing.
They'd like very much to make a deal with us, and they call us, and we'll end up probably doing that. That's Iran.
They have to make the first move to show that they're ready to engage with us on the conditions that we put.
The U.S. maintains Iran cannot enrich uranium if it wants America to lift its economic sanctions on the country. But Iran has long said no enrichment means no deal. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has designated one of the nation's largest Muslim advocacy groups as a terrorist organization. Abbott said the Council on American Islamic Relations has direct ties to Hamas, which the U.S. has designated as a terrorist group. Abbott said he wants to prohibit the organization from buying land and authorize the state attorney general to use the legal system against them. CAIR called Abbott's declaration defamatory and filed a lawsuit. The governor also designated the Muslim Brotherhood as a terror organization. The president's growing partnership with Saudi Arabia was on full display this week as he addressed business leaders from both the U.S. and the Middle Eastern country. As national correspondent Matt Gelka reports, Saudi Arabia is promising a big investment into America's economy.
The Crown Prince and I are making an alliance stronger and more powerful than it's ever been before.
The president touted growing ties between the United States and Saudi Arabia. He spoke at the U.S.-Saudi Investment Forum, heaping praise on Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman after the country pledged a $1 trillion investment in different sectors of the U.S. economy, including $270 billion in agreements between different companies at the forum.
GE Aerospace will soon be delivering dozens of new airplane engines for 787 Dreamliners in Saudi Arabia's commercial fleet. Big order. It was a big order just secured.
CEOs and senior executives from some of the biggest names in business and tech were at the forum, including Chevron, NVIDIA, Google, and Pfizer. Also at the event, and apparently back in the good graces of Trump, Tesla CEO Elon Musk, who also was on the guest list for a lavish White House dinner thrown for the Crown Prince.
We're giving them a deduction on the interest if they buy a nice Tesla car and they borrow the money. You're so lucky. I'm with you, Elon.
But embracing Saudi Arabia has been criticized by some on the left and the right. 9/11 families accuse the Crown Prince of trying to rewrite history as they continue to pursue lawsuits against Saudi Arabia for connections to the terrorist attacks. And even some MAGA supporters believe the president is too involved in foreign deals rather than being America first. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene seemed to allude to it when she responded to the president calling her a traitor to the Republican Party.
Let me tell you what a traitor is. A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves. A patriot is an American that serves the United States of America and Americans.
The president made another move to strengthen the bond with Saudi Arabia, designating the country a major non-NATO ally, joining 20 other countries, including Japan, Australia, and Israel. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka for the National News Desk. America's News Now.
A recent effort to ban stock trading by members of Congress once and for all is picking up steam in Washington. The Restore Trust in Congress Act would ban members of Congress and their immediate families from trading individual stocks. But even House Speaker Mike Johnson, who says he supports it, has also expressed sympathy for those who don't, with so far no plan for a vote.
You're going to have less qualified people who are willing to make the extreme sacrifice to run for Congress. I mean, it's just people just make a reasonable decision as a family on whether or not they can come and move to Washington, have a residence here, residence at home, and do all the things that are required. Among the most active traders in Congress, Texas Republican Michael McCall, whose trades from last year alone exceeded $72 million. California Democrat Ro Khanna's yielded more than $69 million. If not brought forward for a vote, lawmakers have made clear they would have no problem using a discharge petition to force a vote. Still to come, our team of correspondents breaks down this week in Washington, from the FBI's crackdown on online child predators to an asteroid that scientists say is on a collision course with the moon.
And welcome back to the National News Desk. Our Washington Bureau covers the nation's capital every day, and our team of correspondents reports on the important issues facing the country and how they impact you. The FBI doubling down on its crackdown of a violent online network that's accused of exploiting minors. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins, you've looked into the 764 network. What is it accused of doing, and how is the FBI going after it?
I did, Steve. So FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bongino have made it very clear going after this 764 network is one of their top priorities. And that's because this is, well, first of all, an atrocious network for the things they're accused of doing. And they specifically go after children, encouraging kids online, befriending them, blackmailing them, and then getting them to commit suicide, to commit animal cruelty, all sorts of just truly horrendous stuff. And experts that have looked into this group say it truly is some of the worst stuff, Steve, they've ever seen.
I've interviewed guys who have done atrocious things in the name of ISIS and Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab. I put that in context and to say that 764 is probably the worst group I've studied in 20 years, like full stop. It's a level of depravity, I think it's hard to wrap your head around.
Parents are coming out sharing some of their stories. There was a family in Washington state whose 13-year-old child committed suicide. They were encouraged by members of this 764 group, and the child committed suicide while live streaming it on camera, Steve. So really just, it doesn't get much worse than some of the stories that are coming out of this. The FBI, though, making progress. They've already made a number of arrests in Baltimore. They made some arrests in Arizona, another arrest in Washington state. So they're able to track down through the web and through the digital footprint who is targeting these children and how can they stop them from doing so.
National correspondent Kayla Gaskins, thank you. Meanwhile, an asteroid heading Earth's way, and it could hit the moon, and the world's top scientists are working on a plan to potentially blow it off course. National correspondent Matt Galka, it sounds like the plot of a movie.
Yeah, it sure does. And look, it might not be a big chance, but there's still a chance an asteroid could hit the moon in 2032. That's about 6-7 years away. NASA has the probability at around 4% right now that asteroid YR4 has a lunar impact. Now, you mentioned the movies where we send a crew into space to blow up a killer asteroid, and really it's not that far off right now. Scientists, including from NASA, have put out some options for moving this flying space rock off course. NASA's DART team, or Double Asteroid Redirection Test Team, is on the front lines of planetary defense, and we spoke to one of the members of the team who plans out some of the scenarios.
If you know about something far enough in advance, so years, potentially even decades, you just need to give it a very small nudge, relatively speaking, to make a really big change over a period of time. And so if you're able to do that, then that object would miss the Earth entirely.
Now,
nudging the asteroid, that includes an explosion or an impact, maybe even a nuclear explosion. Those are some of the options that are on the table. But to be clear, if this particular asteroid does hit the moon, there's a low chance anything bad will happen. There is some concern for satellites, but there could also be a cool-looking meteor shower in the coming years, 2032. Now, NASA should get a better idea about probability when they can see YR4 again in February.
National correspondents Matt Galka, Kayla Gaskins, excellent reporting as always. Thank you both for your hard work. Back to you.
Typical levels of fluoride in community drinking water do not impair cognitive abilities and may even boost them. That's according to a new study published in the journal Science Advances. Using decades of test scores from nearly 27,000 Americans, scientists found students with full childhood exposure to recommended fluoride levels scored higher than those with no exposure. The data also showed no signs of cognitive decline later in life. The U.S. is racing to lock in a rare earth deal with China by Thanksgiving, while at the same time, a major discovery in Alaska could eventually help America produce more of these minerals at home. The National News Desk, Angelo Brown reports.
In Washington, D.C., a deadline is looming. The White House is racing to finalize a rare earth minerals deal with China by Thanksgiving. This matters because these minerals are inside everything we touch. Your smartphone, your car, your laptop, even America's military jets. And right now, the U.S. depends on China for most of it.
We're way behind the 8 ball on rare earths and critical minerals. And, China's producing 70% of them and processing 90% of them.
But as that deal takes shape, there's a major development closer to home, this time in Alaska at a site called Graphite Creek. Scientists say they've uncovered a huge deposit of rare earth elements. And according to reports, the Alaska discovery could deal a major blow to China's dominance in this industry. And while Alaska offers a future path to independence, we're also seeing a rare win happening right now in the American South. At a South Carolina processing center, for the first time in decades, a rare earth magnet was made on U.S. soil. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
This is the first magnet made in the U.S., I believe, in 25 years. In 25 years. So rare earth magnet problem, we're on our way to solving the Chinese chokehold that they have.
Even with the discoveries and new facilities, it could take years, maybe even a decade, for U.S. mining and also processing to make a dent. In Washington, D.C., I'm Angela Brown.
Coming up, changes in the works in California to support the use of self-driving tractors on farms, and an Ohio teen has won several drone races. How he's now using these skills for a good cause. We'll be right back. This is the National News Desk, America's News Now. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering issues that matter to you. We are taking the pulse of America, and we start in Ohio, where a teen is getting to use his drone racing skills for a good cause.
18-year-old Colin Roundtree has been flying drones for nearly a decade. As you can see, the drones he flies go a little faster than what you're probably used to seeing. He races them. He's gotten pretty good too, winning a few races this year. Roundtree's skills in those wins got him noticed by Campus Guardian Angel, a Texas-based company that uses drones in schools to thwart active shooters or other threats. The drones are placed in schools that use the service and ready to be deployed remotely within a minute or two if an intruder enters the building. Roundtree will be a pilot of one of those drones when it's deployed, and he'll do it from the company's office in Austin.
So when normal law enforcement would take 5-10 minutes to get to the scene, we should be on with the intruder within 45 seconds. So our goal is to prevent or slow an active intruder situation like that down to where law enforcement can come in.
More than 65% of Federal Hill is comprised of Italian restaurants with Italian imported pasta on the menu. But the Trump administration's proposal to raise an existing Italian pasta import tax from 15 to 107% could have you paying the price. Master Chef Walter Potenza with Tony's Colonial Food calls it unfair.
You want American people to eat well and to stay away from diabetes, to have a great nutrition, buy good ingredients, and don't block them with unfair taxes.
The United States Commerce Department says 13 Italian pasta suppliers have been selling pasta below U.S. market value. Their proposed solution, adding a 92% anti-dumping duty tariff to even the playing field.
Nick Rocca is a fourth-generation farmer in Fresno, tending the same 40-acre grape farm his great-grandfather planted back in 1932. Rocca says autonomous tractors are a lifeline in the agriculture industry, a way to keep the family farmer from getting buried by labor shortages and rising costs.
Most ag companies, big or small, can't afford to keep up with minimum wage.
But even these advanced tractors have to follow rules. In California, the tech capital of the world, some of those rules haven't changed since 1977, when the state required people to be stationed where they can control the vehicle. Now with autonomous equipment hitting the fields, Cal-OSHA now allows farmers to use self-driving equipment only with no people nearby, what they call the danger zone.
And the zone of danger is a bit vague right now, but that definition is getting tightened up.
Still ahead, Gamers Unite, the popular video game retailer now pulling out all the stops to drive up holiday business. And a defunct ocean liner going to good use, where the world's largest artificial reef will call home as soon as next year. A federal judge handed Meta a major win, ruling this week that the tech company did not break antitrust laws. The ruling caps a 5-year legal saga, which began during President Trump's first term when Meta acquired Instagram and WhatsApp for a combined $19 billion. The FTC had asked the judge to break up the acquisition, arguing that it was part of a larger buy or bury strategy to get rid of competition. The judge, however, says prosecutors failed to prove their allegations. Cambridge Dictionary has selected its word of the year, parasocial. The word is used to describe a connection someone feels between themselves and someone they don't know. The dictionary cites an upsurge in searches for the term fueled by the rise of social media and AI. GameStop is pulling out all its stops with a first-time trade anything day on its first Saturday in December. The company says the one item must fit in a 20 by 20 by 20 size box to receive store credit. People can trade almost anything except weapons, hazardous materials, and electronics like computers and gift cards, but taxidermy is acceptable. Early next year, a historic ocean liner will become the world's largest artificial reef. When it sunk off Florida's Gulf Coast, Okaloosa County officials said this week they expect to sink the SS United States in between Destin and Pensacola. The nearly 1,000-foot ship spent most of this year in nearby Mobile, Alabama, being prepped. And that'll be all for us on this weekend edition of the National News Desk, America's News. Now, don't forget, you can catch us live from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time. Just check your local listings. You can also watch us online and catch up with the latest headlines on thenationaldesk.com. Thanks for watching the weekend edition of the National News Desk. I'm Didi Gatton, and from all of us here, have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.